Most clinicians have a dirty secret about their assessment process. You have the data, you have the intake forms and the questionnaires and the informant reports, but you don't always have the time or the bandwidth to fully synthesize it before the client walks in the door. It's the gap between collecting the data and actually understanding the entire client story and client context. So in this video, I'm going to focus entirely on the analysis perspective inside our software, Sasha. I'm going to show you how we use a growing catalog of soft signs and clinical rules to map client wording directly to symptom criteria, effectively giving you a second brain that holds the entire client context so you don't have to juggle it around in working memory. All right, so let me open this up. I'm going to try and find a client. I'm going to use a fake client, Don Wanakers. He's my test client, and we're going to open up his client file here. And we can see right away in the client file that there is a lot of history that is in here. A lot of information can come in, a lot of different questionnaires and history forms can be provided. So here is the math on why assessments are so exhausting. This is my math. To do a proper analysis, you're holding 4 things in your head simultaneously. 1, the client's self-report history. 2, the nuances of open-ended answers from their responses. 3, the contradiction or confirmation from informant responses. And 4, the diagnostic rules from the DSM or ICD. The human brain, even a highly trained one, struggles to hold all 4 of these active in working memory at once. And I'm sure you've experienced that feeling of overload, and you might miss connections or you might miss the soft signs hidden in their text. And we want to figure out how to prevent that and reduce those possible errors. This is where Sasha is different. We built a dedicated analysis section that you can use before the interview or even writing the report. While we have here, you can see the details of all the information that comes in. And while it starts with the history summary, so we can see here for this child anxiety scared questionnaire, we have some clinical guidance that has been provided based on what a PhD psychologist would provide. It's actually been provided by a set of psychologists that we have worked with. Now, Sasha ingests the rich open-ended data from the client's history and the informant responses. It doesn't just display the text. It provides research-based clinical guidance right next to the responses. So this information is all based on the research that is backing this questionnaire. If a client writes a 3-paragraph story about their childhood, Sasha is already analyzing that text for clinical patterns, preparing you for the interview. But here's what I think is really neat. So for this client, Don Wanakers, I'm coming over to more of the analysis and reporting side of things. And you can see here, I can look at a full history summary that it knows. Sasha is smart enough to know all the history forms, all the questionnaires, all the informant collateral that has been sent out and gathered, and it will give you excellent summaries because these summaries are based off of what a psychologist or a clinician doing an assessment would be interested in. We also have a search for symptoms. So this is where we have trained Sasha on a catalog of soft signs. These are specific ways clients describe their symptoms mapped to the symptom criteria of, in this case, the DSM. So we call this the differential diagnosis mapping analysis. And Sasha reads the history and the questionnaires, it identifies the soft signs, it lists the potential symptoms and disorders, and this is key, it quotes the evidence found in the client's history that supports that finding. Now, it's not making the decision for you, it's organizing the evidence so you can see the whole picture. Now I can go back to the client tab for the same client and I can look at any details that I need to know. So if I want to come down and look at something to do with, let's say, the early history questionnaire, and I can look at maybe what's come up in this because I saw something in the diagnostic review or I saw something in the summary and I want to check that out. So I can see and I have access to all the answers right there, all in one place. No longer do I have to review this 3 times to memorize it, and there's space now for you to add your personal clinical notes. So if I come in here and I want to add my own notes, I can add notes about this questionnaire. So instead of my working memory being maxed out, trying to remember what some informant had said and trying to figure out where in that might be contradictory to the self-report history from the client is now all in one sort of unified view. What is the result of using this analysis workflow? Well, it prepares you for the interview. If you can have all these questionnaires provided before the interview, well before the interview, you can start to analyze it by looking at the summary information and looking at all the searching of the symptoms and the differential diagnosis. When you walk into the interview or you have the telehealth call with them, you aren't starting from scratch. You aren't hunting for evidence. You aren't scrambling to have clients finish their responses. The evidence has been mapped, soft signs have been identified, and the contradictions have been flagged. You go from being a data collector to being a high-level analyst, a psychological analyst. You are no longer overwhelmed by the noise. You are focused on the signal. In future videos, I'll break down exactly how our intake system gathers this data and how our report writing tool works and formats it. If you want to see how differential diagnosis mapping can reduce your cognitive load, please sign up for a call with me, and we can go through a full demo, or we can talk about your practice and how this might work. So stop relying on your working memory to hold it all together. Let Sasha hold the data so you can hold the space for the client. All right, click below and let's have that call.